To describe nuclear war as a nightmare is an understatement. This is a devastating event that threatens every living creature on our planet. How could its explosion create such a huge shockwave and cause widespread destruction? Buildings collapsed like paper consumed by fire. Unrelenting hunger is a blinding flash signal. The arrival of a nuclear winter that envelops the world in a terrifying twilight. The once vibrant Earth becomes a barren wasteland filled with radiation damage, and the fallout of the world becomes dark and lifeless with only a few survivors left to face the loss and chaos. It is a tragic reminder of what it's the danger humanity faces when conflict escalates to catastrophic levels, given the potential for devastating nuclear conflict. It is understandable that Putin's recent nuclear threats have raised significant concerns for international security and stability, as the global community is closely monitoring the situation, with NATO taking center stage against these provocations. In evaluating the global geopolitical landscape, what proactive steps NATO is taking to address these threats and ensure the safety of countries around the world. Stay tuned. Let's start with the question of why Putin is threatening nuclear war. What is the context behind his actions? The threats announced in his State of the Union address last month were a clear warning to Western countries about their growing involvement in the conflict in Ukraine. Context behind these threats is complicated. These threats are seen as Putin's bold move to speed up diplomatic negotiations. By pressuring Western leaders to quickly resolve the conflict by raising the specter of nuclear war, Putin hopes to dissuade NATO from getting involved in Ukraine. This shows Russia's steadfast commitment to the conflict. Putin's sword attack can also be interpreted as a strategic tactic to bring Western countries into conflict. The negotiating table considered the risks of prolonged war, such as low morale among Russian troops and dissatisfaction among the population. Ultimately, Putin's threats are part of a calculated strategy to influence the outcome of the conflict in Russia's favor, while testing how the West reacts and how NATO responds to Putin's threats. Whether this meets Russia's expectations. Let's delve deeper. NATO's response to Putin's latest nuclear threat involved public statements and diplomatic channels to effectively address the situation. In its public statements, NATO has expressed its deep concern regarding the provocative nature of the nuclear attack. Putin's nuclear threats. These statements underscore the importance of restraint and demonstrating responsible behavior, especially when possessing nuclear capabilities, by emphasizing the need for caution and prudence. NATO aims to prevent rash actions that could escalate tensions and lead to potential conflict. Simultaneously carried out by NATO, actively engaging in diplomatic channels to communicate its stance on Putin's nuclear threat. Through diplomatic channels, NATO seeks to convey a unified message to relevant stakeholders, including Russia, about the seriousness of the situation. These diplomatic efforts are directed at starting a dialogue and negotiation process aimed at easing tensions and finding diplomatic solutions to fundamental problems. By utilizing public statements and diplomatic channels, NATO aims to amplify its message and ensure that it is heard by all parties concerned. Along with diplomatic efforts, NATO member states have significantly increased military readiness and implemented strong preventive measures. In these efforts involve strategic force deployments and rigorous military exercises designed to enhance defense capabilities by demonstrating visible pressure and conducting joint exercises. NATO aims to deter both conventional and nuclear aggression while reaffirming its unwavering commitment to the security of its member states. These defensive measures not only serve to reassure allies of NATO's loyal support, but also send a clear message to potential adversaries about the alliance's readiness and resolve to defend against all forms of aggression through proactive military action. NATO preparedness and prevention seeks to maintain stability and maintain peace in the face of developing security challenges. NATO's response to Putin's recent nuclear threats underscores a strategic approach focused on understanding the nature of these provocations rather than interpreting them as a genuine intent to wage nuclear war. NATO views Putin's rhetoric as a form of psychological intimidation aimed at exerting pressure and influence on the international stage. Miragina, Deputy General AR Secret. NATO has emphasized the irresponsible nature of Russia's use of nuclear threats and characterized them as part of a broader strategy to using psychological pressure tactics. The essence of NATO's founding was the statement that the alliance would not engage in confrontation with other countries. Russia and does not pose a threat to its security. Instead, NATO remains committed to responding to the Russian threat in a united and cohesive manner that shows solidarity among its member states despite Putin's clear nuclear threat to NATO. The dangers of this interpretation underscore the importance of restraint when possessing nuclear weapons and avoiding unnecessary escalation. Additionally, NATO's Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg has clarified the alliance's position regarding troop deployment in Ukraine, contrary to speculation or concerns raised by Putin's threats. NATO has no plans to deploy troops in Ukraine. Stoltenberg's statement from Ukraine strengthens NATO's commitment to diplomacy, unity and trust in the alliance, emphasizing the need for a coordinated approach to effectively addressing security issues. The challenge at its core, NATO's response to Putin's nuclear threat, reflects a different understanding of geopolitical dynamics that prioritizes unitary diplomatic engagement and restraint. This strategic approach underscores NATO's commitment to addressing security challenges through peaceful means while maintaining a readiness to defend the interests of its members if necessary, encouraging cooperative dialogue and conflict resolution to uphold international peace and security. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.